For everyone who is following me or listening to my podcast for a longer period of time, they know that I sometimes record a podcast about a blog. Then I read a blog out loud and I'm writing blogs on a regular basis. So I think at this moment there are already 70 blogs. And this time I want to read a blog out loud as well. But before I do this, I just want to mention very quickly that everyone who wants to join the community, they have a chance until this Sunday midnight. So there are 3 days left, and then I will close the door again because only open the doors a few times a week, so I can really focus on my current members, help them the best way I can. And by doing this, this is helping me to run the community way better, and I just love to see new people joining together so they can step in the community together, help each other, and all the old members can help the new members as well. So it's really a lovely way to welcome new members. So if you're interested, until Sunday midnight, you have a chance to join. And if you're interested about what's inside, there is a lot inside. There are 160 classes from concussion experts. There are 12 courses. There is a community. There is a list of specialists per region. There is so much more. And for this full list of what's included, you can go to my website and you will find the link right below this podcast in the description. So you can click there on the link and you will find everything. You will find more reviews from people who already joined. You will find more information, frequently asked questions, and you can join from there, of course. So let's continue with this podcast. And this time I will read a blog out loud. It's a blog about exercise. And it's a blog about why interval training is so effective for people with a concussion. So here we go. Is it okay to exercise with a concussion? 2 reasons why interval training is so effective. Sometimes I still find it weird. One day you can feel on top of the world. The next day you want to lay down in bed covered with a blanket over your head. But today I feel great. And one of the reasons I feel like this is because I started doing interval training on a consistent basis. Let me dive deeper into the question, is it okay to exercise with a concussion? Over the past few weeks, I received a lot of questions from followers and members about my 2-week interval course. Questions like, which exact steps do you take when you do an interval training? Is it okay to exercise with a concussion? How long should you wait to exercise after a concussion? How do I know when it's safe to return to training after a concussion? Why are you focusing on interval training and not on a normal exercise? How long after a concussion can you work out? When did you feel any improvements? Well, there are 2 reasons why interval training is so effective, and I would love to tell you more about my experience in this podcast. Is it okay to exercise with a concussion, and how long after a concussion can you work out? There are so many different opinions about this, and I will share my vision and what I learned in my recovery. I learned when you just sustain a concussion, it's better to rest for the first few days. After those first few days, so 48 hours to 72 hours, rest isn't the only thing you need. Your brain needs exercise, more oxygen to heal. This is a common mistake many doctors make. They send you home to rest and don't tell you about the benefits of exercise. How do I know when it's safe to return to training after a concussion? I do agree it's better to start slowly with exercise in the beginning and build it up over time. So, light aerobic exercise would be the best to start with. This can be a walk, jogging, spinning, a swim, you name it. After those first few days, try to increase your heart rate a bit more and take frequent breaks, so every 20 minutes, for example. It doesn't have to be a long workout, but your brain will benefit from the increased heart rate. How I found out about interval training. Let me start by telling you a little bit about how I found out about intervals and my story. I sustained a whiplash and concussion in May 2017, and during my first 2 years, I felt so lost and alone. It was like no doctor could help me, and they always sent me home with a note to rest or a referral to a psychologist. I barely felt improvements during these first 2 years and tried so many things, but almost nothing seemed to help me. But then, after the 2 year mark, I did find a doctor who started talking about intervals and cognitive exercises. I hadn't tried it yet, and he got my interest. I thought I had nothing to lose, except, of course, money, but I gave it a try. And it did help. All the motivation I lost was back. I was moving forward again, and I felt ready, 4 years after the accident, to create this community and courses to help others. Interval training helped me to get more energy, reduce my headaches, reduce my fatigue, don't need to nap anymore, feel happier and more positive. I don't give medical advice as I am not a doctor, but I believe there isn't enough knowledge out there, or even the wrong knowledge that could make things worse. That is really happening. In the end, I learned more from other concussion survivors than my own doctor. So that's why I created this 2 week interval course, and I really hope it will help you too. I don't want anyone else to feel the same as I did, getting information that's not helping at all and feeling lost and alone. So, what are intervals and two reasons why it's so effective? You can also call them high intensity training. Interval training are short bursts of intense exercise alternated with recovery periods. In our case, the breathing exercise that you will learn more about in my interval training course. Why is interval so effective? These exercises elevate a protein in the brain that helps keep brain cells healthy. These high intensity workouts help reduce inflammation affecting the brain and prevent cognitive problems. Studies show that interval training benefits our brain more than normal training because it stimulates neuroplasticity, and the heart and lungs can better deliver oxygen to working muscles in your brain. So, better improvements in less time. Reason one why they are so effective. So, every time you do interval training, you get a boost of essential neurotransmitters and proteins, along with improved blood flow, so more oxygen, in the brain. All those neurochemicals are helpful, but there is one that is most helpful for people with a brain trauma. It's the brain derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. The brain can adapt, grow, and change. This ability is known as neuroplasticity, and BDNF is a key player in this process. It can promote the growth of nerve cells as well as stimulate communication between cells in the brain. This can alter the neural function and modify thoughts, feelings, cognition, and even behavior. Interval training is by far the fastest and most efficient way to maximize a BDMF boost. You can always get a BDMF boost after doing a session. The second reason why intervals are so effective, it also helps to regulate the autonomic nervous system. This is another important reason why interval training is so effective. The sympathetic nervous system, also called the fight or flight system, is a quickly responding system that mobilizes the body for action by releasing the stress hormone cortisol and increasing heart rate. On the other hand, the parasympathetic nervous system is often considered the rest and digest system. It can dampen responses such as slowing down heart rate and returning to normal levels after a stressful episode. In a healthy person, these two systems balance each other throughout the day. For example, the sympathetic system dominates while you're running, but when it's time to calm down, you need the parasympathetic system. These adjustments are key to your well being. However, after a brain injury, the first one, the fight flight response, is often stuck in a state of overreacting. To encourage the parasympathetic, so the rest system, to become more active, we will do the intervals and specific breathing exercises. These exercises retrain the brain so that eventually both the fight-flight system and rest system responds to the needs of the moment rather than being stuck and out of balance. It also strengthens the connection between the heart and lungs, which is closely connected to the autonomic nervous system. To get the most out of your training, balance the autonomic nervous system, and promote nervous plasticity, you can make training more effective by adding breathing exercises, which you will learn in the 2-week interval course, and to do cognitive exercises. So I guess it's enough information for right now, right? So I hope you understand a bit better what intervals do to your brain. In my 2-week interval course, I will tell you more about my experience with intervals, how I do the intervals, what effects I noticed when I started them, how to use a heart rate monitor during your intervals, how you can do the intervals at home, how to do the breathing exercises in between the intervals, how to do your first session, what is normal and how to continue, and my 3-month interval plan. So at this moment, already 400 plus people started with my courses, and around 70% of them, they report a positive effect of them, improvement in symptoms. People who tell me they could exercise or finally could exercise before the intervals, they couldn't. They tried to do some running, for example. They tried to go back swimming or any other exercise, and it wasn't working at all. And when they started with intervals, it was working again. They told me, how is this possible that I can do the intervals, but I can't do a normal exercise? And this was my experience as well. I tried many types of exercise before I tried the interval training, and most of the time I got many symptoms. I got a setback from it, but the intervals were so helpful. And yeah, I just think it's like they are working like magic for me. And it's not only for me, but for many other people. And I just hope that, yeah, that you learned a bit more about the intervals, and it will help you as well. And just to make clear, this 2-week interval training course isn't inside the concussion community, so it's a separate thing, and you can find them when you click on the link in my description. And you can also read all the reviews from people who already started, just to see how it helped them, if they had any struggles. That would be maybe some great information if you want to start to read their reviews as well. So yeah, I just really hope it will help you. If you still have any questions about interval training, I would love to hear them, would love to answer them. So let me know. And yeah, I just want to end this podcast by telling you that if you want to join the community, so the concussion community, then you only have until Sunday midnight, and I would love to welcome you inside. We are also talking about interval training and cognitive training inside the concussion community, so I will give you more support within the community if you need it. And yeah, we celebrate our wins, and many people are mentioning, oh, I'm in week 4 or week 5 of the interval training, and it's going so well, and I feel so much better. So I'm really happy for them. I'm really proud of them that they took this step. And yeah, I would be so proud of you as well. So again, if you have some questions, let me know. And yeah, that's it for now. Wishing you a good day, see you a good weekend, and maybe I'll see you on the other side in the community. Otherwise, I can see you maybe on Instagram. You can always send me a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I really hope this was helpful for you. If it was, and if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, would you maybe do one small thing in return? Leave a short review or thumbs up on YouTube. The more reviews this podcast will get, the easier it is for other people to find this podcast and to feel less alone and lost in their journey. Oh, and one last thing. I would love it if you share a helpful episode on Instagram in a post or in a story and tag the concussion community in it. Or you can always send me a direct message. I love to see who is listening. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time.